Welcome. I am author D.M. Patterson, and in this video I'm going to talk about the inspiration behind and how I put together my romantic comedy, The Love Bribe. A lot of authors are asked, what is your inspiration behind the story that you wrote? And I can very honestly say this romantic comedy would not exist if it weren't for my husband. What I mean by that is in 2014, my husband found a random prompt for me online and he challenged me to respond to this prompt. The challenge for this prompt had been a long time ago, but for some reason it was still up on this website. I don't remember the exact wording of the prompt, but it was along the lines of, you are being audited and the auditor provides you an unconventional bribe. So for the website, the way it was set up, it had the prompt and then it's about 100 words or, a couple paragraphs. And some people had submitted their responses to this prompt. I remember reading over the responses and there weren't that many. So I don't really know, I don't even remember what this website was. I don't know what they were doing this challenge for, but I remember there weren't very many responses. So I read over them because I wanted to see what these unconventional bribe pieces were. And I don't remember anything jumping out to me as anything really that unconventional. In fact, the majority of them were adult spicy. I remember reading these responses and thinking, I want to do something that's kind of out of the blue, like really unconventional. And I thought for a little bit and then I wrote the response to this website. Now, because the challenge or whatever it was over, I didn't post it anywhere. I just wrote this prompt and then I told my husband to come read it. David loved it. He thought it was funny. He thought it was clever. He said, you need to write this as a book now. Turn this into a book. David is so widely read and such an avid reader that for him to tell me that he liked an idea and what I wrote, I felt really good about it. So I sat down and I took on his challenge to make it a romantic comedy. And as you can see, I was able to finish and publish it. Now we're going to get to how I wrote this. A lot of authors talk about do you outline or do you write by the seat of your pants? And I fall very heavily into the writing by the seat of my pants. But one thing I can say about The Love Bribe is this book practically wrote itself and it's very character driven. And a lot of times I found myself writing scenes where the characters were doing what they wanted to do and I just kind of felt like I was along for the ride. It was one of the easiest things that I have ever written. I wish all of my projects were this easy. They're definitely not. The inspiration for continuing this book really centered around the two main characters. So without further ado, I'm going to read to you the response that I wrote for that prompt, which ended up being Chapter 1 of The Love Bribe. I had just finished patting aftershave on my cheeks when the doorbell rang. Damn it! I grabbed my jeans, sat on the side of the shower, still beating with droplets of water, and shoved both of my legs into them. I should have known he would be early. He rang the doorbell again as I pounded down the stairs to the front door, making sure my fly was up and the green button-up shirt was tucked in all the way. I wrestled my black belt into place, then swung open the door. The man rocked back slightly, but his face was stone and his tone even worse. I am Edward Brayford from the IRS. I am here. He continued to recite the laws, God, and country who were behind him on the quest to free the world of scumbags like me. I waved him inside as he spoke. His practiced spiel didn't end until he sat down at my dining table. I tried my best to keep my eyes from crossing. Mocking him would only make things worse, and immaturity would not win him over. Even sitting at my table, his tall, lean build was evident behind a stiff, steel gray suit. He spoke in a crisp tenor voice, using the kind of proper grammar that made English teachers clap and normal people's teeth hurt. I assumed his short dark hair and features came from an Asian heritage, but as he was here to investigate me, curiosity about his family would be a mistake. Can I offer you anything? I stood as if to go to the kitchen. Water, beer, money? Edward's eyes narrowed as he looked down at the paper he produced from his briefcase. Mr. Trenton, I chuckled. What's with the formality? Paul's fine. His eyes flicked up at me and would have blazed bullets if it were possible. I slid back into my seat. Mr. Trenton, he emphasized, please produce the documents. They were on the table right in front of him. I plastered a goofy smile on my face and picked them up and set them down in the same spot. I couldn't let him get to me. He grabbed the stack and began flipping through the sheets. Your ink is fading. Yeah, ink costs money, and I'm a little tight right now. I'm sure you know how that is. I tried jovial, but my disgust came out full swing. His facial features twitched into an odd mixture of rage and disgust as he sized me up. It gave him the look of a scary Chinese opera mask. I do not, Mr. Trenton, he replied as he finished assessing me. He clenched his jaw and looked down at the papers again. Clearly, he found me wanting. I dug my fingers into the arm of my chair. I needed to get out of this mess. You don't need some green? I asked, trying for nonchalance. His eyes became iron. Mr. Trenton, are you trying to bribe me? I pursed my lips, then shrugged. Yep. That takes moxie. I tried my best brave knight in flawless armor expression. It always ended with the girl twirling around and galloping off into the sunset. Without me. He continued to glare at me, though I could see something shift in his eyes as he thought. Whatever he was thinking, I did not like it. I swallowed hard as I waited for his response. My mother is lonely. She persistently calls me to come down to her spa or go grocery shopping with her or look at photos with her. Her persistence is futile and only succeeds in angering me. Its resistance is futile, I blurted. Confusion flickered in his hardened expression, but he kept going. I do not wish to hear from my mother for some time. I have other engagements to keep me occupied. I felt a ping of nausea as I began to see the direction he was headed. She needs someone to take her attention. I held my hand up. Now listen, I think you are a little too young and new at this. Mr. Trenton, I have more money than I can spend. Bribing me with that will not work. You will take my mom on a date, an expensive date at a fancy restaurant, every day for a week. Do you understand? I do not want my mom calling me for an entire week. Then we will assess how to move forward. I stammered for a moment, trying to fully understand this twist. As in, after a week you will tell me what else you have thought up? He packed up his things, including my papers, and stood. I also stood, like a bumbling idiot, and hated him even more for manhandling me so easily. He stuck his hand out. I will see you in 1 week. I stared at his hand. I could call his agency on him. I hadn't thought to record the conversation, though. It would be his word against mine. It's not hard to imagine them believing a respectable man of society over a tax evader. After all, I was trying to bribe him. But he took it. I begrudgingly shook his hand, and he saw himself out without another word. He had left something on the table, a card with a phone number scribbled next to the name Mary Brayford. That was chapter 1 of The Love Bribe, a romantic comedy I wrote because my husband encouraged me to respond to an online prompt. I really enjoyed writing this book, and I would say it was character driven because as I was writing, I was diving into the characters of Paul and Mary and what was going on in their lives to make them both come to this point. And the only mapping out that I had to do was I did write out the full week of dates, and I wrote what they were doing on each day so that I wouldn't lose track of where I was, and so the readers wouldn't lose track of where I was in that week of dates that he was supposed to have. But outside of that, that was pretty much the only planning and writing out that I did as far as outlines. The rest of it was so character driven. I felt like I was just along for the ride as I wrote their stories. I really, really wish all of my other projects were as easy as this. I received enough critiques saying that this book was too short, that people wished that it were longer and they knew more about Paul and Mary's lives and everything surrounding the circumstances that they were in, that I am now working on a sequel called The Bride piece, and it will be told from Mary's perspective. And I will tell you more about The Bride piece as I work on it. For now, if you would like a copy of The Love Bribe, I will have the Amazon link below. And good news for those of you who like to listen to books. This book is available on Audible. My friend Jason Sariana did the voice acting, and I am forever grateful for the work that he put into my story. Thank you so much for watching and for supporting me. I will do a few more videos about the works that I have published and also do some more videos about the works that I have in progress. Now, go write.